Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, Danvers residents and viewers of the topics of the town news. I am here to present or preempt the recording of the Beverly Airport Commission meeting that was held on August 11th, 2025. And I had the question raised to me, why do we do this presentation or recording of this meeting? Period. I have been asked this question over and over again, and I do this as a service to the residents of Danvers and for the posterity of our community, because our children and grandchildren do not really understand what has happened to the town of Danvers because of the Beverly Airport. So, August 11th, 2025, there was a meeting held at the airport on the east side, on the Beverly side, in their main conference room, which is very good, very nice. I have gone through many of these meetings. However, this particular one, I've asked Tony Betancourt to record it for us because I was unable to attend, or I didn't feel like going to the meeting because there's very little that is achieved at these meetings except for the business functions of the airport. On the agenda, various subjects were related to the business functions of the airport. And I will not go through them. You will see that in the recording that has been prepared by Tony Betancourt, my co-host. And no specific remedies to the pleas of the Danvers residents who are in the path of noise and the jetport over our neighborhoods. Commissioners and Beverly School Committee woman resident, who is a resident, encouraged the implementation of the airport expansion into a jetport with the expansion of the facilities and especially the new gigantic hangar. As of yesterday, which is August 14th at 8:14 a.m., the building commissioner, building inspector, building commissioner in Danvers actually issued the building permit for this particular hangar. However, as you may find out soon enough, that building permit will be appealed to the building board in Boston. And we'll see what happens. I mean, there are issues that can be explained and some that are not explained because of the manipulation of the special specifications that have been implemented at this airport. So, what we're going to do is we're going to show you the entire meeting. Please be vigilant of the fact that it is being recorded by the same camera but a different cameraman at this particular meeting. And Tony Betancourt has been a faithful supporter of the Danvers residents with the impact of the jets that are flying over our area. Now, I have been reporting them, and I hope you and everyone else will report them to the to the airport manager, because it is important to identify to them that there is an issue, and they've been hearing this, but they are totally ignoring us altogether. We need the support of our selectmen, select board, the planning board, and the conservation board to make sure that this airport hangar, which is supposedly going to house 2 jets. I don't believe that, but that's how it is. So their plans are going forward. However, as for your information, this building permit is going to be appealed to the building board. So, welcome to the entire film of the meeting. And if you have any questions or any comments that you would like to send to us, please email them either to me or to DCAT, and I will respond appropriately. Thank you very much, and enjoy the 2.5 hours of a meeting that's all about the functions of the commercial side of the airport, with very limited reference to the quality of life in the Danvers west side of the airport. Thank you very much, and see you next month.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to calling the roll. Commissioner Willett, Commissioner Talley here, Commissioner Doxey, Commissioner Zubrick,
Free chairs.
Dunstad.
Yeah.
All right. Move on to the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, objections?
I just spoke to David about just a certain documents.
Gotcha. Super comments.
The alternative fuel, the brand insurance.
Okay.
So that's all.
So we did a little bit of that.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Commissioner Coswan had pointed out that under the absence section of these meeting minutes, Miss Gillette is listed and she's no longer on the commission. So we can, if the commission approves, and then take that out as well.
Okay. Is there anything else from anyone else?
Motion to approve as amended.
I have a motion from Commissioner Zubrick to approve as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
July 14. Was I here? It doesn't show me as present,
Interesting.
because I thought I was, unless I imagined it.
That's
And
not
then
bad.
how to order it says I'm here. So.
If you want to be here.
Conspiracy. Always.
The last meeting, was that when you were traveling?
Yeah. And didn't we have to move the meeting?
We did have to move the meeting. Jeez,
I remember because you called me in Walmart in Indiana.
right.
So.
So I think we'll go back and listen to the recording too, but we'll amend that as well for you being absent. All right, so the motion to
Present is the case.
accept with freshly amended details.
Second. Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Zubrick, second from Commissioner Coswan. All in favor? Aye. Right. Okay, we'll move on to our public comments. Anyone from the general public?
Oh, how you doing?
State your name and address for the record.
I'm Antonio Betancourt, 15 Thorpe Circle, Danvers, Massachusetts, Town Meeting, Precinct 5. Now, I've been coming to these meetings, you know, for how long, at least 20 years now, anyways. And I thought we were making some progress, everything was going really good and all that stuff there, I'll be honest with you. But I'm just a little depressed, you know, all the progress that we made is just out the window, like nothing, okay? Now, yesterday, and I think it was on runway 27, Commons, when it was calm, we're there all day, okay? Today, same thing in the morning, didn't change in the afternoon, okay? And now, I guess I'm hearing now that runway 16 is supposed to be the Commons runway, you guys want to change it to 9, okay? That's kind of, I don't know, that's new to me. I mean, here, I want you to show you this. This is all the houses in Danvers, okay? I want you to all take a good look at that, okay? And see how populated we are. And over here in Wyndham and Beverly, there was no population at all. There's a safety issue here. You have to take that into consideration. You folks sit here and you preach, you want to take care of us, you want to be good neighbors and all that stuff there. Well, you're not if you do the stuff you're doing, okay? That's what I'm trying to get at, okay? I also have another question. On the foam, if a jet comes in here and lands and crashes, whatever, do we have foam on hand to put out the fire?
There's a foam truck that would respond.
Where is the foam truck from?
It's, I'd have to get the exact ownership. I think it's multiple fire departments have a stake.
I was with the fire chief the other day, okay? Our foam truck, we had the foam with the PFAS. It's all emptied out, okay? They can't put there's new foam in there that go in there, but they can't put it into the old trailer, okay? It can't even be washed out, you need a new trailer, okay? So we do not have a foam truck, that's what I'm concerned about. What I'm wondering is, you guys talk safety, okay? So where is the foam coming from? Is it coming from Lawrence? Is it coming from Logan? That's what I'm trying to get at, okay? We have a problem here. You guys have to stop and take consideration of all the people around here and what's gonna happen for safety. That's what I'm concerned about, okay?
Thank you. Any other public comments? Rachel?
Hello. Thank you so much, Commissioners, for having an opportunity for public comment at your open meeting. I appreciate it very much. My name is Rachel Abel. I live at 19 Echo Ave, which is a 2-mile final for runway 34, or the departure end of 16. I'm speaking on my own behalf, even though I do serve the city in an elected capacity. I have to thank the Ariport Commission again for your service to our community. I think that the operations here at Beverly have been outstanding. I understand too personally that there was an event in June, and I think that our first responders did an excellent job of doing what they could. I think our pilot community is also extremely cognizant of the neighborhoods that surround the airport. Many of the houses that were built after the airport was in this vicinity. I'm speaking tonight because I feel that it's very important that we work collaboratively with our community, including the tenants on the field, to make sure that we provide general aviation services that include our wonderful flight schools. We have 2. Our tenant FBO services, as well as our A&P or IA services for general aviation. And I understand that you have an agenda item this evening to discuss such services, and I think it's really important that we work very collaboratively to make sure that we maintain this airport for everyone's enjoyment. I did have the pleasure of taking off from runway 9 and landing runway 27 this morning, and I understand the neighbors' concerns, but as a neighbor who is right under the runway departure path, I think it is a wonderful sound to hear the airplanes in our community, and they are no more loud than the Logan Airport airplanes that have been over our community the last couple of days, because that was how the winds blow. And I think it's important for people who aren't in the general aviation space to understand that the winds are really important, and that decisions are made for the ultimate safety of the pilots and the community that surround the airport. Thank you so much for this time today, and I appreciate, again, your efforts to serve on this commission. It's such a vital service to our community.
Thank you, Rachel. Senator Lovely, I think. No?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you. The audio on my end is very difficult, so I'm trying to hang on every word that's being spoken there, but it's difficult. Just wanted to let you know. First, I just want to send my condolences to the airport, to all of you, the board, on the fatal crash a couple of months ago. I know you are an airport family. Most of you are pilots, and just want to extend my condolences to you, of course, to the families and the loved ones, but very, very tragic, and I'm so sorry that that has happened, and hopefully in time, we'll all understand what happened. Second, I just wanted to let the board know that Tony Betancourt, I have office hours every Monday morning at a different senior center throughout the district, and Tony came in this morning just to catch up. We hadn't caught up for a little bit. I am in an email tree, if you will. So I hear from folks weekly on activities at the airport, mostly around noise, but the lead in the gas is still an issue. And I know that that's being worked out at the federal level. But just about the noise and the use of the runways, and now I understand that the runways are being more utilized to send, traffic either, down one runway over Beverly, now going towards Wenham, and then of course towards Danvers. So Tony and he brought me up to speed, and I did say that I would, usually I have staff attend these monthly meetings, but I wanted to come in tonight and just express to you that we're still working on this, and appreciate that you're still working on this too, to try to come up with some further resolutions to give some relief to the neighborhoods. And just wanted to make that statement, and again, appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate you taking the time to speak and come here as well.
Thank you.
Ace, did you want to come up and speak?
Yeah. Oops. My name's Ace Chase, Wenham Street, Danvers. Former firefighter. And from this gentleman's comment and everything, Middleton has a pump that has pre-foam on it. Danvers is also the regional carrier of foam and everything, and so does Beverly have foam trucks and everything. So the statement is, all right, if you have an emergency, okay, foam trucks aren't there immediately, but there are foam trucks that will respond and everything, as well as the fire departments, and you know how they are here. They're exceptional, and any emergencies will be handled accordingly. So just to let you know, there's plenty of foam. Essex County Foam District is Danvers. Middleton has pumps pre-set up with foam, and Beverly. So you don't have that problem. That's just a make-up thing.
It's not a make-up thing. The young people,
We're
the young people say,
not getting into a discussion.
We're not even gonna get into the
okay, I
discussion.
understand the truth.
I've done this for 30 years,
Okay,
so don't tell me
okay.
that we're not equipped to handle an emergency. Okay, emergency comes up, immediately. Okay, you have time for these regions to respond. If it comes up as a 5, or a 3, we're at 3, they'll already be here. So that's just a stupid issue, just to let you know. All right, you're covered, and you're covered well with the fire departments here. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right, we'll move on to tenant comments. Any tenant comments before we speak with Clark?
First of all, I got my own name this time. Yeah, I gotta go before
I'm not
dark.
a tenant no more.
He'll make me look bad if I go after. Good evening, everyone. Peter Eichley, CEO of Flight Level. I just wanted to give a very brief update on our hangar project. We're sort of on the eve of the project kicking off. We have our kickoff meeting the week after next with all the stakeholders. I'm thinking Kyle and Gabe will be there as well. And then 2 weeks after that, we start mobilization. We'll have trailers coming through, temporary power put in place, erosion controls, temporary fencing, all that sort of stuff put up. That's going to be about a 2.5 week period. And then the site work is going to begin shortly thereafter, probably in the mid-September timeframe. That's about a 30-day period, and that's a lot of that is the utilities work. Once that's done, it's concrete foundations and slab. That's about another 5 weeks. We have less than a month and a half. And then the actual hangar erection begins probably in the just post-Thanksgiving timeframe. So hopefully the winter will cooperate with us, but that's a 125-day phase. The actual building is going to arrive pretty shortly, actually. It was supposed to arrive actually this week. It was delayed about a month, which really doesn't slow anything down. It'll be here September 17th is that date. So if anyone wants to be there for that sort of ceremonial delivery, everyone's welcome, obviously. Site work finishes basically go throughout the winter into early spring. And then there's spring work in April and May, installing the permanent fence, top course asphalt, demobilize the site, loam, beautifying, all that kind of stuff. But if all goes according to plan, right now we're planning on having the building done and hopefully C of O by the end of May. Obviously, if it's a brutal winter, that may stretch a month or so, but we've got a really aggressive timeline, so we're really excited. So just wanted to share that with the commission.
Thank you, Peter.
Sure.
Anybody have any questions for Peter? Or?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other 10 comments? All right, Mr. Lett, would you like to?
So how did I get my name on the agenda?
Well, Gabe and I had a discussion, and we thought you deserved the earmark.
All right.
Go for it, big guy.
Yeah, go ahead, hit me there, projector.
Yeah, let me get this.
What are you doing?
Shared on
that
the
was
screen.
The other guy couldn't make it, so I took over.
So the money pit next door. The only discussions I have with my daughter and my wife are why. Now that looks like, that was little things we're doing, because right now we have all these little projects that we're doing, so I'm trying to make it not totally boring. Anyways, there's the deck. Next picture, please. Oh, what'd you do? All right. Put that picture, the last one, in your head. The AC unit's going in. You can see up the top, you see the cables are being run. Me and the HVAC guy aren't doing too good right now because he gave me a quote, and I'm rather holding him to the quote, because out of the 3 quotes I got, he was the highest by almost $4,000. Now he's saying it isn't enough. So I clicked my heels and said, show me on paper where we've totally gone over. But anyways, it is going in, but it seems like it's slowed down, but that's holding up. If you see right here, like stuff like this. You see this little rim right here?
Yes.
That's my hanging ceiling that I can't put in until the AC units are in. And right here is plastered. Then I can put the ring. So the AC units are holding up the whole project over there. I mean, I can't tell you drastically how much. So, but anyways, and you can see we had to put a hanging ceiling to hide all this because there's a vent right here going into the bathroom, and then this one is going into the stairwell because you got that sealed stairwell, so I had to put 2 vents. So I couldn't put a standard, what do they call those wall units in there. I had to put more of a creative wall unit. Okay, hit me. What do you got next? All right, so we're back. All right, so we're not on air conditioning. Okay, so on this, you see the white right there. Well, before you used to look under the deck, and like I said, it looked like a Revere walk-up. And I just added the corner. So now when you look at it, you don't look under the deck. But that's pretty much, the front is pretty much finished, as you can see. And it kills me I don't have a before picture. I've looked everywhere and just senile, I guess. But anyways, this ladder is going to go right here. And the gate up there, when you see the other picture, the egress is going to be out on the roof, and then on the corner there's going to be a ladder going down. You guys aren't supposed to talk. You told me that during a meeting, you're not supposed to talk. All right, go ahead. What do we got? All right, back to the AC unit. This is on the 2nd floor, and you can see this right here. And you see how that's all studs and insulation? Well, I can't do the hanging ceiling until that's blue board, and I can't do the blue boarding until my AC unit is done. So that's why, I mean, I'm begging this guy to keep going. He had a death somewhere he had to go to in Ohio or something. He'd be gone 2 weeks. There are some of the cables we're running, and when you see wherever the picture comes up, you can see, if anybody remembers this, everything was in the front, so when you looked at the tower, right? When you looked at the tower, you see the AC units and everything, and I didn't want that, I wanted the clean look. Go ahead. All right. There's an AC unit that's not supposed to be in the box. I took that out of frustration. That is supposed to be hanging in the wall, but it's still in the box. Go ahead. Jesus. Okay, there's the gate open. You can see now, so the egress is out, and then it's going to be over there, and it's going to be a ladder. So, you know, you either go down the ladder or bake marshmallows. There's the back. So those cables that you've seen are coming through here and there. So everything I put in the back, so you don't see it from the front of the building.
You only do
Yes, sir.
one condenser in the back to do all 3?
Yes.
Nice.
And this is supposed to be the ultimate, holy of them all condensers that's supposed to deal with all this. So if we come back and I'm sweating after being in there, it'll be another story.
That's all, except for your final picture.
Oh yeah, and my final picture is what me and the wife do on our time off. Right there. That's what we were doing last Monday at a kids' camp out in the Berkshires, this very expensive day camp for kids wanted a tank. And they wanted me to drive through the center of the thing with a tank. So me and Mama took the tank with a rig, and that's the same tank that was in the end of the Blues Brothers.
No way.
That is, and the one, if anybody ever seen the movie Tank with James Garner, that's the tank.
Is this your tank?
No. When I used to fly the bombers here, the Collins Foundation at the museum now has that. So me and Heather do all the parades, and so we were coming down the dirt road. It was like a half a mile dirt road, and there was these two little kids coming up with a golf cart, and I veered over, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, and the kids were like this, and I stopped, and I said, "Can you take a picture of us?" So I thought the kids were fine. But that is a fully operational cannon, but I'll be driving it all weekend this weekend. So,
Did you check with the Civil Air Patrol to see if they have any pictures before that you might be able to compare?
that's a good point. I have one picture of when I bought my Aztec out on the front deck, and you could see it in the background. That's the only picture I got, so I'm gonna try to blow that up.
Yeah, we might be able to have Nikki send an email out to all the tenants and just be like, hey, does anybody have a picture? You know?
I can't believe I never took a,
There's gotta be something somewhere. Right?
so. But anyway, so it's coming out pretty good.
Thank you, Clark.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Uh-oh.
All right. Ace, what do we got?
Nothing for what Mr. Clark just showed you and everything. Is that going to be the way that Hangar 4 is going to tell you what's going on every month?
Well, we can discuss that later for sure. That's it.
Well,
It's not required in the lease or anything to do a monthly update. So, but I don't want to get into that now, Ace. We'll wait.
Okay, but you're gonna end up with another
Ace, I
building
appreciate it.
45.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
We gotta
Just
keep
want you
moving
to
on.
know that.
Thank you, Ace.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to presentations. Our flyby 5K and fun run by Mary Parsons and Sandra.
Mary, just-
Mary, I'll stand behind you.
Come on up to the table, grab a chair.
I'll sit over the same way. That way I'm not in anyone's way. This okay, anyone see?
No, that's
Perfect.
Thank you. I'm here at the request of Dave asked us to do a presentation. Mary Parsons, air traffic manager at the tower. Todd Rotundo is on the team.
real quick, just can everybody online hear us and see what we're sharing?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. All right, sorry, keep
Go to
going.
the next one. So I just wanted to kind of introduce the team. So Todd Rotundo has been here before. He talked about the Beverly 400. He's on the town council, the youth collaboration board. I can tell you the list just goes on. He's everywhere. He was at Paddles Park over the weekend at their fundraiser. Kade Morrison is the associate director at the Greater Beverly Y. She's on the youth collaboration board. Just a laundry list of items that she does. She has exceptional experience with races and everything with the youth, just really have her. And then Katie Nelson's another one. She's the head of teen services at Beverly Public Library. She's on eHealthy Beverly, Youth Collaboration Board. And again, these titles don't do justice to her organizational skills and what she brings to the team. So here's Todd. He's going to talk about kind of like how we all came to have this event, and then kind of like the nitty-gritty of the race organization and the timing type stuff.
So Mary's been really the impetus to get us all together. Thank you for allowing us to speak to you, commissioners. We appreciate having us here. So as Mary stated, what happened was it was actually right here at this meeting when I came in front of the commission asking about an air show to commemorate, celebrate Beverly 400th anniversary next year. Mary reached out to me a few weeks after that, a month later, and said, hey, you know, I tried to get a race together down at Logan Airport pre-pandemic. I would love to get something going on around Beverly Airport. We've discussed it. But that same week, Kaveh Morrissey came up to me and said, you know, Todd, Beverly 400's doing this, you know, great event, and one thing I've realized for the YMCA is that we never really do fun run. Well, now we have two different conversations with the same idea. So it came by natural. So therefore, I went to Beverly 400 Plus and said, look, I got this idea. They looked at me, laughed at me, they said, you always have ideas, you get too many ideas, and that's the problem with Beverly 400, you just get too much going on. I said, fine, take that hat off and put the Youth Collaboration Board chair hat on. I went to the Youth Collaboration Board, I said, look, new idea coming to us. They said, we have the brand new McPherson Center being built, we need a revenue source, which I've been trying to generate for the last 3 years since being the chair of this board, this woman, Mary Parsons, has this coming about, and here we got this opportunity, the YMCA can support us. Youth Collaboration Board is made up of the city and as well as the YMCA. It was taken over by the YMCA back in '93. Oh, am I going ahead? My apologies. And so what happened was this, the McPherson Center needed some support funding, and in '93, the Y stepped up to the plate, took it over. The city supports it. It's a city asset. Programming is ran by the Y. Its charge is the population of the 11 to 18-year-olds. So this was a great opportunity to find a road race, which is where we're at, Fun Run Road Race on the airport. Not in this area, never really heard of it. The Fall Frolic, which is also a great event that happens in the city of Beverly, but that really supports the elementary schools. It's a collaboration with all the elementary schools. What we're looking to support are the ages of 11 to 18, which is what the Youth Collaboration Board does, as well as we want to partner up with the middle school. So we've reached out to the new incoming middle school PTO president, and we're working out the details on that. So right now where we're at is we've done some great planning, and I can't take any of the credit for this piece. This is where Mary and Katie have done all the work. So they make me look good, but the reality is they're doing the yeoman's work. Katie's been great about getting the sponsorship flyers with the support of with Kaveh. We've been making some outreaches. We got Bay State timing already. That's set up. We got the registration form getting set up. We're getting the sponsorships set up. We have the date, which is for October 26th. It's a Sunday with the blessing of Gabe. We'll start registration, pre-registration on that Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and then the actual race will be on that Sunday. It starts at 7 a.m. with registration. The fun run will be at 8:30, and then the run will be at 9 a.m.
This October or next October?
This October, 25. Nope. So Mary, you know the route better than I do, so I'm going to let you speak to that. Because I looked
After
at
that,
the
like you
next step.
said, the fun runs at 8:30, 5K at 9, the airport's going to be no time closed from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., and it's going to be held rain or shine. So there you go, there's the route. We kind of see the start up here. It's a perfect, it's a whole short line right here, so that's a perfect start. Go down 3, 4, then on Bravo. We're going to have a water stop in this area so the trash stays over there. Come down runway 9. We did this little loop in here because Gabe didn't really want the finish line up here, the fuel dock and that type of thing. So the finish line will be that direction. And if you go to the next one, although the fun run is first, the fun run is going to start on the runway as well, at that same start line, then just do a little loop around and half mile.
What's your expected numbers? I feel like this is going to be huge.
That's a good question, because we're hoping it will be huge.
Yeah.
So one thing is we've been talking logistics because we want to make sure that we have to worry about parking as well. So Mary's going to be reaching out to some of the Cherryville tenants. I've already spoke with Bruce Zoy, who's the director for the Park and Recreation. He will allow us to open up the field. He won't book any events down there, so we'll have parking there along the perimeter as well. If we do see that its registrations are large, and C&B's not too far down the street from here. I have a good relationship with the CEO of that company. Is this an opportunity where we have to look to charter a couple of buses to the school? If it's available, pay for that to get the registrants back and forth. But we do have a start and end time because we know the airport needs to be reopened by a certain time, so we're very mindful of that as well. The award ceremony will be starting at 10 a.m. and everyone's off and done by 10:30, and that way it gives us a half hour for picking up any stragglers or anything. But I believe Mary and Gabe have been talking about how to address the actual runway efforts.
This is just kind of like a rudimentary drawing. So the finish line, that pink area there underneath that label, that's going to be where the finish line is, and then once everybody gets out of that starting area and off the runway, the goal is to have volunteers and marshallers on the route that are very familiar with aviation, so that they kind of know where they can and can't go. So then the finish line area, that pink area, everyone will kind of be finishing there, and then that closed area there is just so we don't have wanderers over into those airplanes, over to the fuel area or Avier's area, or number 49. And then all the tent, the finish line area will be on the ramp in that dark area there, not on Echo. And then you see those two dots, our fences out here, the transient gate and the other gate, that's where they'll enter and exit from the building there.
The date again for it, October 26th?
October 26th this year. Yeah.
And our intent is to actually be an annual event similar to the Fall Frolic. You know, maybe we have fun with it, dress up in your favorite Halloween outfit, we don't know, right? So there really is a lot of opportunities. It is a unique race that isn't really done in this area. The good thing from a fundraising standpoint is we're not gonna have to get a lot of police details. We may be one or two just for traffic control down coming to and off the roadway of LP Henderson. So we are considering that, but at least we're not blocking off, you know, public streets and things of that nature, which, but the Fall Frolic and other road races, the homecoming road race and such forth, we don't have to do those things.
So what we're doing now is generating interest. We continue to get people following the Instagram page, but we're seeking sponsors. That sponsor form should be here this week, I think, because we're kind of waiting on how it's going to look, I guess, and then the bibs. Who's going to have the names on the bibs or on finish line or signs? That's kind of.
There's a few logistical things we want to make sure we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's to make sure that, you know, the biggest bang for the buck for the sponsors as well. The good news is the distribution and the way we're putting it out is 15,000 Greater Beverly Y members, where they'll be distributing it out. We're going to be working with the City of Beverly as well as the school department. So all of that information is going to be marketed out, potentially 18,000 people seeing it right just naturally before we even get out into the news media and things of that nature. She's been doing great with Instagram. If you're able to see it, you kind of see it running along the runway to kind of give you that sense of what's going on. I think Gabe gave me a little preview of the carriage, which was pretty interesting, but it was good. So it's up and going. We're moving it. We just need to do a few more things before we can make it go live. One of the things, like she said, is the bibs, and then we pretty much identify the sponsorship levels, and from there we'll move it forward.
Yeah, so just notoriety, goodwill, this airport, telling everybody what the airport, the benefits here. I've been in contact with the tenants, and I'll start talking to the surrounding airports and control towers and flying clubs and all that. There's some FAA paperwork I have to fill out, and we talked about the insurance, so that's under the umbrella, which isn't my forte, but they figured that out there. There's a sponsorship form we called, I thought that was unique. We have a runway sponsor, taxiway ramp friend. That's all in draft. I think those are kind of generally what we're looking for, except we have to figure out the bid in the next one. All right, this is what it'll kind of look like. Friday, this conference room, 3 to 7 for packet pickup, all the drop-off type of stuff. Saturday, the conference room again, we'll be using that for packet pickup. Probably close the ramp, I have no idea. It really depends on the weather, I think, but in the afternoon, we'll move some airplanes, porta potties here, and tents and other stuff that's going to stage out there on the ramp.
Mary, just to clarify, when you say ramp to be determined, you have it down as Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, you start, is that Sunday?
Yeah, so the ramp, just in case we need, we're going to start moving these planes here. Yeah, and then the sponsor.
So all planes on the front line here are
Yeah.
going to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so the tents and the. All right, do you have the next one, please, Kate? There we go, Sunday, like I said, no camp closed, 7 a.m. to 11. Conference room, we're still going to be the packet pickup, and I think, is it like 10% or so? They kind of generally think we'll sign up day of race depending on the weather, so we'll have to still sign up. Inclement weather, unfortunately, we have to have that. And the runways will taxiways will have the signs, banners, marshalers. There will be one water stop, probably by the 9 lineup area, wherever it's going to be on the taxiway, not on a runway to keep the trash over that way. The ramps, all the tents are the sponsors. Finish line food, which is just going to be bananas and oranges. We're not going to get too fancy here. Self-service walked up, that was Gabe's request. And like Todd said, parking is about 100 spaces behind building 45 in here. Birch Plain is about another 50. We'll talk about the one side of the road here and see how sort of emergency vehicles can get through.
I know like for the air show, they turn it into like a one-way, right, and blocked off certain things. And I don't know if they allow parking on the road on LP. I don't think so, but
We'll talk to the traffic sergeant with that as well to make sure what his concerns are, if there's any of those. Again, it's the first time having this event. There may be a few hiccups that we'll be able to hopefully navigate quickly.
yeah.
But we'll make sure that all the appropriate people who are involved between the city, the airport, as well as, the emergency safety and all that will be well aware of how to work this out.
And this one too, just to have that. It's called the Flyby 5K. We're hoping to have a flyby. Someone depart and land back in Lawrence, hopefully. That'll be around 8:50-ish, just because the fun run starts at 8:30, the 5K at 9. It'll be around the time when people are just milling about getting ready to run for the 5K, and then hopefully most of the fun run will be finished.
Who do you want to get to fly over? Or do you have some like a?
Anybody, you want to volunteer for that?
Well, I know a guy who has some connections with planes and stuff, but
Okay.
I don't know what he's got in his arsenal.
All right, yeah.
Mr. Laddie.
He's got a tank.
He's got a tank.
Well, it has flybys then, race marshalers, and I think that's kind of what gives me some heart palpitations. I don't want people just scurrying about here. There's going to be signs, information on our websites, the Instagram about, kind of where they can and can't go type of thing. There'll be barriers as well. No runners are going to be allowed to cut across the course if they can't finish. We'll have a sag wagon, some type of thing. And then the cleanup, taxiways open by 11, and the ramp area is open by 1. So we're going to get off the taxiways and everybody by 11, and then the ramp might still need to be cleaned up and that type of stuff. And I can be a sponsor. So there is going to be flyers soon, but links on the airport website, on
The McPherson Center, the
McPherson.
YMCA's, the city of Beverly itself, the recreation department, anywhere we can put it is where we're gonna try to do it, right? The school departments as well, so we'll really try to get it out there to promote this first inaugural event.
And this seems to be the standard rate, 30 for the 5K, 15 for the fun run, t-shirts for everybody. Katie Nelson came up with, I just think, the cutest idea. Kids get done with the fun run, or anybody, they get a little pilot wing sticker. I thought that was cool. Till we see stickers all over the ramp. We did I call it beta testing with Blaine and Gabe on the stroller. We thought the grooves on the runway were going to be bumpy. It was no big deal at all. Animals not allowed inside the fence. We'll make sure that's on there. Just like I said before, we're just going to have the no areas. You just can't just cross and willy-nilly walk around the airport here.
The one thing I do want to say from Mary's perspective when she brought it to me is her biggest goal originally and initially with everything was how to promote the airport, how to get really people know that it's part of Beverly. So that's really how it originally initiated was we want to make sure it's included. So although this is one event that we're looking for this year and hope to be continued, next year we're also looking, Mary and I are working on a different project where the airport's history, working with Historic Beverly, to an exhibit for the Beverly 400. So I think I'll just kind of throw that out right while I'm sitting here right now.
Yep.
So we're working on a couple of projects together, but this is front and now. But that was even better news when I saw that. I'm like, look at that. This is all, look at the stars are aligning, right? So, I mean, it's a great opportunity to make sure that people do realize, what an asset the airport has for this area.
Yeah. So the airport turned 100 in 2028.
She did try to make it earlier. She did. She was
I
trying.
did.
She truly tried. I think 26, maybe they started talking about it.
Now the fundraising for this goes towards.
Appleby. So,
Yeah.
After McPherson Center, the other office of the Beverly PTO, middle school.
This
PTO.
year.
Now, what I will say is the Beverly Middle School PTO, because they're transitioning their leadership team, I
Right.
mentioned it, I haven't had the opportunity because of vacation. We were supposed to talk either today as well, so we are in the process of talking. I will be surprised if they say, no, we don't want any fundraising from that, but one never knows, right?
Yeah.
So,
How's the youth center coming?
it's coming. It's, if you drive by, you see they finally put the steel beams are up. I mean, really, there's no polish yet. We're hoping maybe January. So it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's just a constant treasure.
So the fundraising is we kind of set it like this: 50% McPherson every year, and then the other 50% this year is Beverly Middle School PTO because the people are
Yeah.
team for this year. And then after that, aviation, PALS, Angel Flight, 99s, any type of aviation that we'll just go by year, we'll figure that out. So 50% is going to be McPherson, whatever, then
Go
the other
for
half.
it. It can be determined by, a committee that's created and everything like that application. However, we haven't gone till next year, let's get through this year and make sure that we're successful, right?
Have you had registration open?
No, we're waiting on a link, is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah, so because
And
we're.
the rate in the bid, we're waiting on that.
A couple of things we're waiting, so we're hoping by the end of this week we'll have it all up and going. It's one of those things you keep throwing a busy person things to do, but eventually they'll catch up. So the YMCA is heading that, as well as we're working with the timing company. And the only other piece that we're really kind of hammering out right now is the bid piece. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a matter of, do we purchase them ourselves, or do we have the timing company do it? What's the most effective, efficient way to do that? What's the
What's
best?
the chip on the back?
Exactly. There'll be chipping and chipping. It's basic timing. They're fairly large. They do a lot of the local road races. The Y uses them. Fall Frolic uses them. So we'll continue using them. They've pushed us towards this registration company to really make sure that it is done efficiently and effectively.
Are you excited to be as soon as it's up?
What's that?
Are you excited to be as
Of
soon
course.
as it's
I
up?
love Sullivan, yeah.
Have you talked to the Wicked Running Club in Salem?
Not yet. So those are all on our list.
They follow our instrument.
Well, and October 26th, the people that get dragged up here to go to Salem for the weekend, this might be an alternative.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? Because I know the Salem residents get frustrated with all the tourism, so maybe they want to come over here, right?
We'll have to have a class.
I'd like
So
to
many
train.
people.
You can train up here,
Let's train.
leave their car where it is.
So that's the thing, is there is opportunity, we know there's a lot of outreach that we need to do, we also know that we do have a finite amount of time to really get the marketing up and going. So we're hoping within this, end of this week, to have all the logistics in place, and then we can start doing the marketing and advertising. I think our timeline really is before the start of school, so that gives us 2 solid months.
I've got a bunch of contacts, so send it to me as soon as you do.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are gonna have, like, to be able to run on the airport, like
That's what
runners.
everyone said.
Oh, yeah,
That's
they're
nice.
gonna, like, I know, my neighbor's the president of one of the run clubs in Beverly. He's gonna be all over this with his son, like,
Right.
his kid runs, like, they're all, yeah, it's gonna be,
Good.
That's the hopes, I mean, and I think that's the biggest thing, is to have fun as well as highlight the
Just a question, is it sanctioned, so it's
It's not-
a
it's not
certified, so
sanctioned,
it's
so
a
not
fun
that-
run, not a sanctioned run?
No, like to get like the certification and all that, it's just like, that's probably too much. But I am gonna take a wheel measurements next week.
Okay.
I'll get close to 3.1 as I can.
Any other questions?
I just want to say, I think this is a wonderful event. I think that it's a great way, a unique way for the airport to outreach to the community. Mary briefly spoke about FAA approvals. I just want to go a little bit more in on that. Since this is a non-aeronautical event, the FAA wants to know all about it and give their formal blessing that this happens as well. So I sent that document to Mary. I know she's working through that. There's some other filings I have to do, like at least 45 days before the event, but so we're working on getting all the FAA stuff done.
within the FAA blessing, can this be like something that the FAA announces that's happening? Like, like as in a mailer to like aviators? I don't know, I just feel like that could be another source of marketing that's kind of like,
Yeah.
they're just sending this out, as, not as a marketing, but as informative to the aviation community, and then just by happenstance, it's, oh yes, well, oh, I'd love to run, I should go to Beverly that weekend. But,
Maybe like on the FAA safety website.
yeah, something like that, any sort of,
I never thought of that.
Do a banner to all around the North Shore.
Yeah.
James, our new contact at FAA, like he's in charge of STEM outreach, could he have a table here and maybe he would help him?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then I just saw that Westover Airport and Air Force Base, they do something similar. I think it's a yearly thing, run the runway type event. So reaching out to them. They might, I don't know
Because I
who
reached out to
exactly
Northampton, but
organizes.
I didn't know Lawrence did one. Okay.
But yeah, so Westover, I
Yeah.
know, does.
Oh, okay, the Air Force. Is that-
Yeah.
Oh, the Air Force one, okay.
Yep, so might be worth reaching out to see if they have
Absolutely, well, thanks.
any tips, tricks, or anything.
Always open for suggestions, especially why not? Why have to recreate the wheel if it's already been created once?
I'm sure Rich Little would probably, I don't know if he'd help out.
He knows about it, I'll let him.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, thank you everyone for having us, I
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
listening to us. Have a great night.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Mary. All right, we'll move on to Airport Solutions Group. Mr. Schutz.
Do you know if we're trying to get back?
Oh, yeah, we'll see.
Dave, maybe you can announce at the Mountain Conference.
What?
Maybe
Oh,
they announce
that's-
at the Mountain Conference, or at least,
Yeah,
It's been
that's
there.
like the week before.
is it the week before?
Yeah.
Maybe that's too late.
What is the pumpkin smash?
You usually do that in November, I think that first weekend or second.
Yeah,
weekend
first,
of
yeah,
November.
yeah. You don't know about the pumpkin smash? The Beverly, the old one. One of the catapults or the.
When did they start that? I never heard of that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a Lorraine Farm, they've had it for years now.
Right across the street, it's,
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You never been?
I didn't know that.
my pumpkins to the farm
No, we smash them first and then they compost them and do that. It's so much more fun.
we were trying to share it.
Yeah, oh, the kids get to tool
Well,
with
we
it.
tried to share it.
What's
I
that?
built one years ago, yeah, I have one for this pumpkin.
Yeah, they got one or two.
At least one.
No, I never remember, I never heard of that.
It's
20, 30 years.
pumpkin cannons they have.
No.
Looks like a Paris gun, it's about 100 feet long. They launch out pumpkins way out there, compressed air.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Basically, yeah.
No, we should wait for Gabriel.
We'll wait for Gabe, yes.
All right. The environmental notification form. So right now, we probably have 8% of it, the draft done. So at the end of this month, we're expecting to have the draft to go out to review to FAA, MassDOT, and the airport. And then once we get the comments back, we'll kind of finalize that draft and then send it into BEPA. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. So looking there towards the end of this month to get that out for review. Any question on that? The aeronautical study, we finished that project. We had sent out a final draft report. Never got any comments back, so we submitted the final report on August 1st. So technically, we're done with the project. And you wonder what do you want to do with this information. In the report, we come up with some different options that you could do to get at the mitigation for the obstructions, but we didn't decide on one because that wasn't the purpose of the exercise. So what we'll probably have to do is, when we have our CIP meetings, is talk about, what are we going to do? We have to look at a small study to determine which is the best option, right? Even though you might say, this is the one, but what if it's way too much money that they won't do it, then you're going to go to the next option, and then have to do that. So
Gabe, you've got a copy of this, this is all said and done, or?
he has a copy
Yep.
of it.
Yeah,
And then I requested that you guys give us addresses. Was that able to be done of those points that were?
I have not done anything with that, Kyle.
Okay.
So, can it be done? It's going to be a lot of work. It's not-
Then how do we find them if we just have points on a map? How do we go to those people? How do we find those people?
The best you can do, I guess we could get it would be the GIS maps property maps that cities and towns have.
So that's on us or Gabe to find that out?
Yeah, like I said, we would do it, like I said, if one of the options is to get easements, and then we do an easement project, then we would dig in deep and find out all the properties that have fed our.
I'm just confused because I asked for it before when we were looking at it, your meeting at your office, and Bob, everyone said, yeah, sure, we can get you addresses. So
We can get you
I
addresses.
just,
All right, well.
yeah, because I mean, if you guys,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, we'll get you, what, do you want, what, the addresses?
Every address that you can possibly get us. Because if they're in the middle of the woods, obviously there's nothing we can do there. But if there's like Danvers residents, I want to start that ball rolling as soon as possible. Whether we do an easement project or out of our own pocket, or whatever, we have to start that legwork now, because we can't just like show up and say, hey, we want to do this next week, or like I want to be proactive, because people are going to be very angry when we come to them. So,
Is this something that is going to cost a lot of money? I know somebody said it's a lot of legwork, a lot of research. Is that, or we just?
well, that wasn't implied when I first asked about it. There wasn't this legwork. It was just, yeah, we can do that. So I mean, I don't see it.
I just heard now that it's going to be. I'm just curious.
Well, let me take a look at it.
Okay.
So, let me take a look at it.
Okay.
Is this
So
something?
there's some problems, you have many different types of surfaces that we have to look at, right? So the approach surfaces could be the most important ones. So,
The approach services as far as clearance for approaches?
right, because that dictates where your threshold is and everything else.
Yep.
Right, so and that was what dictates, yeah, a lot of other things,
How
so.
long is this study good for, once the obstructions are cleared? Was the last one like 15 years ago?
Oh, yeah, it's 2010, right, so that's why we did one, because we haven't had one in a long time, they update the data, because trees grow, right? Trees
So
grow.
this will take a while as far as.
So
getting
yeah,
houses
so
addressed
yeah, this will
and
last a
coming
number
up.
of years, until we,
So there will be approaches into minimums here for years.
what's that?
The aircraft coming in here won't be able to descend to the ideal altitude for years because of the obstructions.
It can affect your minimums, yes.
Well, it already has, I mean, planes cannot.
Yes.
The jets.
Yeah, so what will happen is if, once we figure out, we'll figure out the best way to get the trees, you do yourself, or you go through the FAA process, you get them down, then you gotta report it back to FAA, it takes time, because it's not like you put a phone call and write a letter, send an email, get it down. There's a formal process, you have to do that too. So when it goes, cranks through their system, and then eventually it'll get published, they publish, I forget how often, they do 4 or 5 times a year, I forget, and the new plates come out.
I just think for the pilots in the room, for the people that run businesses, it sounds like we should already be moving on this stuff, or if it's gonna close out in August, we should hit the ground running for the fall and winter. Like, if this is gonna take years, every month delay or quarterly delay, is impacting operations for everybody.
Yeah, I just understand that, and just letting you know, FAA, when you get into government money and public money, things come to a slow grind.
Yeah.
Right, but we're not talking about that. We're just trying to, like I said, we
Again,
want to get the addresses.
I know, but I just want to let you know, I know that you guys want, I agree, I'd like to get you guys out there and do it too, I mean,
I know there's a lot of back and forth and it'll take
It's-
a long time to clear it up.
right, I mean, if you.
But that's if we go with the federal funding. Like, that's
Right,
it.
federal and generally MassDOT too.
Right.
They want you to have some control of the land before they'll give you money to go and clear the trees, which makes sense. Liability and all that standpoint, for FAA wants you to have control of that land now and in the future, in case anything comes up on that property to clear. Right, after we're all done, anyone else comes on, you have an easement on that property forever. So that's why FAA, and it just takes time to get that, if that's what we want to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess we can get you the addresses and you guys can figure out if you guys want to start tackling some of them.
Yeah, so if we get the forestry department from Beverly to work on things, we can get Danvers to work on things, however we can go at this to get it done sooner and not have to go through federal funding.
Can I ask you, in August, when this last item, project closeout is actually done and complete, does that add something to you?
So then the next step will be, as Craig said, identifying the mitigation steps that make the most sense for us, that make the most sense for the FAA and MassDOT, and looking at potential of adding in another project into our CIP.
But also residents as well, because like if I think this has got to be a multi-avenue thing. We can't just say, well, we're just going to go this way and that's it. Like, I think we're going to run into issues if we just have blinders on and say, well, this is how we're going to handle it. It's going to be federal funding. We're going to get easements from everybody, and that's how we're going to do it. I think that
I don't think anyone is suggesting that. As Craig said, that there would be the normal course of this is this study just looked at what was out there. The next step would be to do a study, like a feasibility study on which of the mitigation options outlined in the aeronautical study would make the most sense for the airport. And that's when all of these different paths and facets are looked at and weighed against each other versus the resources that everyone has on hand.
So who pays for the study? And how does that?
That would be a CIP project. So that would be,
then it goes up at our CIP meeting.
We'll talk about this.
We talk about
We're
this.
gonna talk about the
Yes.
instruction study and how do we want to address.
Do we have a date on that CIP meeting yet? Still not.
Never is with MassDOT.
Could we have been doing this stuff preemptively, knowing that this was gonna come? Could we have been lining up the ducks already, like for next time that we do an aeronautical study 15 years from now? Could we say, as this is happening, we get pieces in place so that once the project is closed out, we've already gone down the pathway and figured it out? And it seems like we're not gonna take another year of meetings and CIPs to figure out what the next step is, where we knew this was coming. So what can we do next time? Or like I'm realizing now that.
Well, you look at the head of the master plan and say, well, we're gonna do 927 next, and, you know, I mean, but the thing is, again, it's like a year-long study where they're flying, doing data points. I mean, it takes forever to get all that.
Well, the next step wouldn't be as long. It takes long to do an aeronautical study, but like the next step, if it's the feasibility study, that's not gonna take as long. You don't have to find anything. We have all the data. It's just taking the data, talking to you guys. Here are the options. Does this make sense? You know, and we work it out that way. You know, and if it's, you know, we already, we come into it and say, listen, we're proactive. We already got most of the properties or something, or at least one of them, whatever. That's something that they're on here. You know, but it still doesn't mean, you know, you still might have to get easements in the future. You don't know. And it's not just easements too. I mean, you might have to, not say have to, but one of the mitigation options is displace the thresholds, which no one wants, right? But that is something you have to look at, right?
Yep.
It might be right out, no, and I get it, but you have to throw it out there and just weed it out and you can decide. So we'll get you the addresses, okay?
Well,
And then you work
talk
on
to Dave first, if it's gonna be a huge financial hit for some reason.
No,
then,
let
you
me
know,
just
but-
take a look, let me see how many properties we have, and I know one of the answers has quite a few, but let me just check and see what we have.
Okay.
And I'll just probably just use the GIS mapping and I'll do my best with what they have on that.
Okay.
So, okay. Any other questions on the aeronautical study? The perimeter fence project, punches have been completed. We had the final walkthrough MassDOT a month ago, month and a half ago, so now final invoice has been prepared. Now we're just doing the closeout documents for that project. Should close that out hopefully soon. Any questions on that? Purchase and remove equipment. Really, there's not much to report on that. We had the FA grant offer. That was end of June. We're still waiting for the MassDOT grant offer. I haven't heard anything, Gabe. I don't know if you heard anything.
I reached out to MassDOT last week. They said that right now they're really busy closing out FY25 and all of those grants, getting final payments out. And then when they're done with that, they'll start processing new grants. So they didn't give me a timeline, so that could mean we get a grant offer in a week, or that could mean it could be a month. But that's kind of where MassDOT is on things.
Yeah, that's it. Because if you guys won't sign, the city won't do contract with the vendor until the money's in place, so you guys can't work the equipment. So any question on that? Good? Yeah, then you talk about the CIP meetings. All I know is, not that it matters, I think the same as last year, late September, October. MassDOT will be running the CIPs. FA is not attending this year. They don't have enough airport planners. A lot of them have left. So I know those airport planners at FA are the ones who usually run the CIPs on the FA side. So they're not participating. Although they'll see the afterwards after come up that soon. All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the airport manager's report.
All right. We'll start with operations and fee report. Kind of continuing with the trend of this year, operations in July of 2025 were way down compared to July of 24. They were down 38%, which is close to 3,500 fewer operations than last July. In contrast, though, our fuel flowage collections were up 4%, and our landing fee collections were up 42% compared to last July. So that's kind of what the trend has been. Operations have been dropping while revenues from usage fees are increasing.
How does that work?
So what that tells me is that even though we're getting fewer operations, the operations we are getting are transient aircraft that are paying landing fees. So jets and other transient aircraft above that 6,000 pound minimum. And then the fuel flowage, again, I think that speaks to just the type of aircraft that we saw coming here in July. Just taking on a lot of fuel from us.
I mean, we're way ahead from last year.
We're way ahead. Yeah, way ahead. Yep. Jet fuel tax revenue, again, we don't have anything new to report. We'll probably get that, I think it'll be the end of September. So at the October meeting, I should hopefully have some jet fuel revenue to report for Q3 of 2025. Any questions there?
We're down 8,000 operations this busy season, basically.
Rough, yeah.
Roughly 8,000 less this year.
Yeah. Budget report, nothing new to report necessarily with that. We're off to a really good start for FY26. Revenues tracking just ahead of our budgeted revenues, and our expenses tracking just behind of our budgeted expenses. So everything is looking good there, of course. My usual disclaimer of this is very early in the fiscal year, so don't try to read too much into the tea leaves yet. So our budget might look towards the end of the year, but I think right now we have started off in a really good trajectory. Any questions there? All right, let's move on to noise. So between last meeting and this meeting, we had 19 individual complaints. So that's an increase of 12 compared to last month's. So we got several more complaints this past month from 12 unique addresses. That brings our total individual complaints up to 144 year to date. And we've heard from a total of 30 unique addresses. So this last period, we heard from 6 addresses that we had not heard from before since January. 9 of those complaints came from Danvers, 8 from Wynnum, 1 from Gloucester. I think there was an aircraft kind of training, doing some maneuvers over Gloucester Harbor area. And then 1 from Hull, which was one of the helicopters, went and did a circle out there in the harbor and came back up. So that's what generated that complaint. Runway usage, 7 of these complaints came from runway 27, 5 from runway 16, 4 from 34, and 1 from runway 9. Most complaints we received were from departures. If you jump across to the type of aircraft, most of the complaints we received were about jets this past period. So that makes sense that departures was the most commonly complained about operation. We got 3 about touch and goes, 3 about arrivals, 1 maneuver, 1 over Gloucester, and then 1 the circling helicopter down the hole. And then we got 1 complaint about a full stop taxi back. 9 chat complaints, 7 complaints about a single piston. I got 2 complaints about a single turboprop. That was actually, I got 2 separate complaints about the same operation. It was a PC-12, Pilatus PC-12 that was arriving on 1/6 at 4:30 a.m. So that it woke a few neighbors up, and I got 2 separate complaints about that. And then the 1 helicopter. Listed all the aircraft models. Again, jets were our biggest offenders this period. And the base airport, 13 of the 19 are based here at Beverly. 5 I couldn't find the base information on, and 1 was from Bozeman, Montana, one of the jets. So, and then I put a note down there about the 2 complaints about the single operation. I do want to address runway usage. Over the course, so the airport has a record of noise complaints going back to mid to late 2019. So I have about 6 years of noise complaint data. The consistent trend I have noticed in all of these complaints over the years is that runway 9 is the least complained about runway. When it comes to, of course, 27 is our most complained about runway, and really 16 is the next most complained about runway. So I'm going to share this map. Let me make sure.
Is 9 also the least used?
It is also the least used, so we'll talk about that. All right, so this is, I've mapped out where I get all of my complaints from year to date, and I created this polygon to kind of show where our most noise sensitive areas are. So anything in the blue, I would consider, based on the complaints we've received year to date, anything in the blue is where I would consider our most noise sensitive areas. What's really interesting is you see the very well-defined areas here, of course off of 27, and then this one off of departure end 16. You get this up here, departure end of 34. It's also, data shows it's heavily, we're getting complaints about departures, and in particular, most of our complaints come from folks that are, whose homes are under the like upwind to crosswind turn. So that's the thing when your aircraft is low, you're high throttle, and you're making a turn, whether that's left or right turn. That's where a lot of these complaints tend to be from. So taking all of that, I've looked at this, and anyone taking off of runway 9 is coming right over immediately Wyndham Lake. They're making that crosswind, whether it be a left or right crosswind turn, right over the lake. Especially if they're going a left turn, they stay over the lake and then over the sparsely populated area for that front half of the traffic pattern. When you're climbing, you still have power in. And then when you're getting prepped for the landing, that's, you're pulling power out, the noise burden isn't as great. The other plus about runway 9 is that using runway 9 decreases the chances greatly of runway incursion, or when 2 aircraft are present on the runway at the same time. If we're using 1634, we've got folks on the east side and folks on the west side crisscrossing at one location on the runway. Runway 9, you don't have any runway crossing. So that's, another good thing about runway 9. All that's to say, the airport's published calm winds runway remains 16. In aggregating this data, I shared this with Mary, and I said, hey, should we try runway 9 out? Maybe start using runway 9 a little bit more, see what happens, see what that gets us.
We already have the displaced runoff area because of noise complaints on runway 9.
Right.
And the runoff area over there. Like, are we gonna fix that in any way, shape, or form? We're gonna send more traffic over there?
We can certainly, do something about that for sure. So in the past few months, traffic usage of runway 9 has been way up. And our noise complaints about runway 9 have remained pretty low. I think on the year I've received 14 total noise complaints about runway 9. That's compared to, I think, just over 70, I must say 72 about runway 16 traffic, 35, 36, I think, about runway 27 traffic. Just wanted to share that. I know that there were some comments about runway usage. Just want to share that data. I know,
Okay, I haven't been here for a couple of months, and it's been a pretty busy period for me, listening to constituents. In some respects, what I see here reflects what I've been hearing from them. In other respects, there's like a whole volume of complaints and comments I've received that you guys don't seem to for some reason. I'm just mentioning, I'm not trying to make a big deal. Let's start with talking about switching runway, the common runway with a 9. You and I have discussed this. Obviously, looking at that makes good sense, okay? I might mention, just as a side comment, in 36 years of flying, I think I've landed on that runway 9 about a handful of times. This is because the winds favor this airport. Anyway, to me, I'm ambivalent because the end point, terminal point of runway, be it 16 or 9, are so close. It's a dead zone, so to speak. So that's fine. That's great. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is please publish that as soon as possible, and then please adhere to it rigidly. Absolutely no switching from that whatsoever. And probably the most popular complaint I've got is people calling me first thing on a Saturday or Sunday morning saying, hey, it's calm winds, and they're coming up, runway 27 or whatever. And the last time I actually bothered to check the ASOS, I noticed the ASOS didn't even say what runway was reactive. It just said winds calm. So that was kind of an ambivalent statement on the ASOS. So that's fine. It's just the damaged people, all you gotta do is mention runway 927 and they're immediately on my edge. All right, so if you're gonna make runway 9 the common runway, publish it effective tomorrow morning, please, and rigidly stay to it. Just stick to it. I don't care what you got to say to the tower people before a complaint goes to Washington. And that's going to be a different animal altogether when it comes down from the top on our tower. So please keep that in mind. The other thing I would want to say is that a few calls I received earlier before this meeting, I asked you what the curfew times were. Okay. And to be honest with you, I forget who called me, or one or two people who called me, but sitting in bed or sitting and watching TV or out on my patio puffing a cigar, okay, jet comes right overhead, inbound here, and less than 60 seconds later my phone rings going, hey Bill, you hear that? And it's right over my head. And I'm just wondering if curfew is being enforced on general aviation. I mean, if it's being evenly observed, okay, that it seems to me that there's a lot of jet traffic arriving late. I didn't really pay attention to plus or minus curfew, but it's close. All right. So the other thing is I've also seen the news helicopters coming in rather late. Now, obviously, They've got a job to do, but the bottom line is the curfew applies to everybody. And that shouldn't be based on complaints, that should be based upon your observation that you can set up your parameters on your software, and if anybody who breaks curfew gets a log note from you, all right? And I gets him off my back politely, all right?
So I just want to ask, are you asking Gabe to, anyone who flies at our airport past curfew, to have him reach out to those pilots? Is that right? Every single operation?
Across the board, it's, well, I would say most of the single, what I call the single living crowd, I refer to them as what I call 9 to 5 pilots. They get a breakfast, crawl, and everything, goes off for the day, and back home for supper. So 99% of our people are well within curfew. It never even gets close, all right? Yeah, there's going to be outliers who come back in from long cross country, so on and so forth. But like I said, ever since those calls I've gotten regarding jets overhead, now I'm noticing that they're late. I wasn't really paying close time. One of them I could have sworn was 10:38, and maybe I was wrong. I just, like I said, I was doing a number of things, and plane went overhead, and I was just like, the plane's overhead, boom, phone rings. Did you hear that? Yeah, I hear it. So I would like to just see curfew observed right across the board, and that applies to the news helicopters and the jets coming in. And I'm not trying to make a big fight out of this. The bottom line is to say, politely remind these people, we have a curfew, and it applies to everybody, and that includes you. That's what I'm saying. All right, the other thing I'd like to talk about is I've been studying, looking at the instrument approaches and the arrival instructions for this airport, which is a real pair, okay? And I'm kind of beginning to wonder if we need to approach the FAA folks down in Atlanta and have a serious conversation with them about approach work here, all right? In the sense that you go through these arrivals and these approaches, there's one common fix out there called, where is it here? X-row, okay? And to be, just on a first blush looking at this, I would like to make X-row, or I would think that X-row would make a convenient initial fix for all the runways. In other words, rally everybody to that and then route them around and get them off the neighborhoods. So again, this is just an initial study in my half, but this is after a number of calls. Forget the number of emails I received about this. So I want to put that thought out there. We can build upon it, we can discuss it, whatever you, but like I said, I look at this report and I appreciate everything going into that, but that doesn't come anywhere near when I'm on the receiving end of it. And you and I have had conversations about it, so. That's my point.
Well, so question, so the helicopters and the jets are all commercial operations, right? They're being hired. Like, Gabe could reach out, but I don't think that's going to make any difference whatsoever, because they're there to do a job.
Well, they have to do a job, but we also have a curfew. We also have others, so he's like, oh, this doesn't apply to them.
We
I don't
can't
care
stop
about, I don't
them.
care about the commercial rating. No.
I mean, they could, all the pilots could land at any time.
Well, okay. I get both sides of the information, both sides of the coin. I've got pilots from Offshore Air Club who basically pushing back saying, like, we don't have to listen to you whatsoever. You know, there's the FAA rules. And they're absolutely right, okay? Everything we're instituting here in terms of being good neighbor policy is common sense and amongst ourselves and those people who want to listen to us. And again, like I said, 99% plus of people flying in and out of here are 9 to 5 flights. All right. But you guys don't seem to be getting the calls or comments I'm getting. I've turned around every one of these people and I just said, look, if anybody's got, please show up at the meeting. Please call it in. Why they're not doing it, I don't know. They like calling it in to me. Maybe because I listen. But I'm telling you, I'm hearing it, it's real. I'm also telling you it's got my attention enough that I've sat there and actually started plotting out your approaches and arrivals to the place. And I'm literally back at home, I've got my instrument charts off figuring out where this is dumping out. All right? I'm also beginning to one of those people who are confusing some of the arrivals actually going into Boston and not here. And part of me wondering maybe we need to look at Boston in terms of if they need to push their initial fixed points up because it's coming over Danvers. So I know it's a big bite to take, but it's a very real bite. And I have worked with the folks down in Atlanta before on this. So
Commissioner Dobbs.
I think really the only repository for complaints can come to Gabe and the official channel is set up. So I think we'll appreciate you getting calls and stuff, but I don't think that actually doesn't impact any of the data here unless you present it and organize it and you're like a recognized recipient of this data to present it out. I mean, no disrespect, but we have official channels set up and the only way we can actually make decisions as a commission of airport and for the manager is based on the only contact points that are recognized by the commission. So if you get the calls, that's great, but unless you can detail every call and chart it and have the recognition to do that, I don't know if we can really...
What you're saying is absolutely true. Okay? I appreciate you pushing back on my comments. But what I'm telling you is the absolute truth. Okay?
But I know the FISDO and Washington have all said that you need to refer to Gabe.
Right.
So I feel like if you need to include Gabe on these email chains, because if there's like Senator Lovely said, like there's just these chains of emails of the same group of people complaining, you need to funnel that somehow to Gabe at least.
Gabe and I have talked on a few occasions about this.
Right, but talking and sending him the actual data is two different things. Because you come every month and say, I'm inundated with hundreds of emails, and like if we want to actually do something and reach out to these people and talk to them and try to alleviate these issues, we need them to bring it to Gabe. I need you to bring it to Gabe. I need Todd to bring it to Gabe. Tony brings it to Gabe all the time. Tony talks to Gabe all the time. Like, we need these people to do this.
I think Gabe would verify the data. So Gabe collects the data, he can look at it and verify it, but I don't think he can take hearsay to create policy. So if you can give the details and Gabe can verify it, and that's therefore we have the complaint hotline. So that would be more helpful, in collecting this data. So if you work with Gabe and have people contact Gabe and fill it out, and I think as far as the curfew stuff, you've been good about that. You contact people when there's issues, you have brought it up every time that these people, like I think he's doing that as far as I know.
I'm not disputing that.
And it's published, and like Gabe has said from day one, is the second the wheels leave the ground, we lose all jurisdiction. I mean, the commission is weaker in implementing policy than he is. He's the king of the airport, and the second those wheels come off, that's it. Like he's got no other say. So we can, and we've just done what we can with curfew. We've talked to this flight schools and we've sent it out to every tenant on the field. I mean, we could resend it out again and ask, and I think people have been very receptive of this. Okay. But again, like Commissioner Zubrick saying, commercial flights, the med flights, the news, all these people, they can't abide by that curfew. There's just not, it's not going to happen. And they legally have that ability to do that, and we don't legally have any foot to stand on to enforce that. So,
if nothing more, okay.
And I know Todd is also working on writing up something about what's going on.
I will accept and wear the label up here, say, which it is. Yeah. What I'm telling you is very real. All right, beside that. Actually, let me make one minor correction. Not the second the wheels leave the runway, the second the wheels move is when it's taken over by the FAA. All operations fall into their jurisdiction. But look, I really don't want to get into start tracking stuff because I don't need another job. All right. The last couple of months, it's been certainly pushed into me by a number of operations I'm part of, and I'm really busy, and I just don't need another job. And I'm just politely bringing it here.
Then don't take it on and just, I think Gabe can also get the parameters of what actually flies from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and just see who's actually coming, like if there's anything coming in at those hours. We can see that data. We have the tracking ability. We pay for a subscription, so we can take a look and see what the numbers are, again, and try to see what that data is. Like Commissioner Zubrick said, I don't think we can contact PlaneSense and all these companies and talk to pilots. I mean, we can, again, our policy is out there. So,
just for clarification, the Pilatus, did you reach out, Dave, to the?
I actually just got that one in, so.
for the industry's sake, particularly in California, that it is common practice if you know, are in violation of a curfew, there's nothing they can do, but the airport does send reminders, by the way, these are our noise policies. That would be a tremendous burden, I understand that, but they, you know, the industry does do that. So.
Every single operation after curfew?
Well, to particular airports, like, you know, Santa Barbara, for example, if you do something out of the norm, you will get a letter from their, you know, from the tower, you know, and so somebody monitors that. But, you know, it's an additional resource, and it's be expensive.
But I'd love to know the exact details of what they do and what the out of the norm is in their eyes. And again, that kind of data, bring that to Gabe, and we can discuss that as a commission and see if that is a policy we want to implement.
In summary, there are airports that send reminders when the noise abatement procedures are not by the plane.
Yeah, and again, I want to know, is it tag along with a complaint? Because then, like, because Gabe wouldn't come in every morning and say, oh, you know, 75 people flew past 10 o'clock, and I'm going to go and email every single one of them, and that takes 4 hours of his day. I'd rather him.
That's my point. It'd be, well, how many are there? They're not that many. They're just reminders. So we're a noise sensitive airport, and just a reminder. That's all it is. And there's no violation to it. There's nothing. It's just a note from the airport saying, well, we noticed that you violated the curfew, and a reminder this is what our curfew is.
Which I think can be utilized well, but my only other concern, and this is what happened with a company that came to us to try to charge us to track the flights, and they promised us better numbers and more money, and it turned out that people just started ignoring and not paying the bill because that company had no leg to stand on to charge, and the pilots were like, we don't need to pay it, we're not gonna, and the company stopped doing it. And so I don't want to inundate people with a generic, you know, please don't do this, because when we want them to respond to something like a complaint, like if they did something and woke up a dozen people in Danvers, I want our letter to hold, you know, some oomph to it, and it means something, as opposed to, oh yeah, Beverly just sent out another mass emailing, you know, fourth time this week. You know, like, they don't care at that point because they know that it doesn't mean anything. Like, there's nothing we can do. And I'm not saying against the idea of emailing people. I just want to make sure that if something's done wrong, that our word holds weight when we do connect people. Sorry, John.
Yeah, thank you. Well, one thing that came up in the subcommittee we did a couple of years ago for noise was we talked about signs. And I get impressed easily, but I don't know about the pilots. When you go to airports and it says, please fly quietly, it talks about, it might have a yellow sign for curfew, or it'll say common runway. I personally find that impressive because it's not common for a pilot to taxi out, right? And to see a sign that reminds you to fly quietly, or what the common runway is, or maybe even a curfew sign. So I wonder, since we're doing so well financially, that we pilot a couple signs, you know, strategically placed in the airport, and then hold the flight schools and all the operators here, the pilots. You know, I think that maybe kind of does what you're saying.
That's what that document is. That's from the NBAA, by the way. It's just the last reminder for the pilots. Oh, by the way,
this is like an ideal airport with all the issues to test bed some signs. You know, have you seen it?
And I know we have talked about this in the past, as posting signs, and Gabe did bring up the fact that it's not impossible, obviously, but it is going through FAA, going through, like, to post something within the safety area, we have to go through.
It just seems like with everything this airport's going through, that it would be worth going through those and maybe just getting a sign or two and just see what the response is.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a public acknowledgement to the public that is at the top of our mind, and it's also a courtesy to the pilots. This is a friendly reminder.
Even coming on the entryways, we could have signs that's, you know, yellow signs that looks like an airport sign, but as you're driving on, you see it early, you know, so it's things like that where the community maybe sees that we're starting to
Well, according to this, it's NBA best practice for signage, so we should look at it.
I'm totally open. I'm open to anything, you know.
And I like the idea, you know, rising to best practices, you know, as certainly as we can and as we have the resources to do so.
Paul had wanted to say something.
Yeah, just real quick, I mean, obviously the first premise is respectful, non-repetitive use of the airport off hours. I'm not comfortable with the creeping in of the word curfew, which sounds like a mandate, which we don't have. We have hours that we recommend respectful use or discourage use, but if we creep in from the side exit entrance with the word curfew, it sounds like oh, I can't go or I can't come home, which obviously would be a problem. I mean, as far as I say, the premise of the whole thing is respectful, non-repetitive use of the airport at off hours, and we do operate that way. I have very few, no complaints I've heard of lately, but you know, the operation, we do it very respectfully and tastefully. But the word curfew bothers me a little bit.
Point noted, Bedford has a curfew, Beverly does not.
Some do.
Yeah. No, I do like that point of what's that? I'm so sorry. Tariq, if I pronounce that right. Yeah, just give us a minute. We're going to get through the airport manager's report, and then we can take your comment. You know, I do. I like that. You know, any sort of fear into a pilot's mind, no matter how small or big, you want to avoid that at all costs. Because if you are flying home and you're like, oh, there's a curfew, and that makes you hesitant. Yeah, I don't want to imply that whatsoever.
I mean, my phone pings every time somebody lands, and if my phone pings overnight, they hear about it the next morning, and we have a company-wide discussion. But well, no, I mean, in general, our operation there. About 40 to 50% of our operations on a daily basis are at Beverly, where we really curricularly we go afield, kind of as part of this. But at night we try not to have any repetitive, only an arrival, a quiet, you know, power off. We cut the mixture on. Anyway, that's enough.
Appreciate that. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, as far as adding on noise, two things. One, I'm still working on formatting stuff, but I have embedded basic noise complaint info, like the data and numbers I receive, into the airport website. So anyone can get on the airport website and see how many noise complaints we've received year to date. It's on the airport noise page at the very bottom. They can see that, see the breakdown by runway, and see the breakdown by town and where the complaints are coming from. So that information is public and published on the website. Like I said, I'm not a website designer, so I'm still trying to teach myself how to format it correctly, but you can at least get on and see it. I also want to give a fun might be the right word, update. So have that repeat complainer in Wynnum over this past month. There was one day, it was a 24-hour period. She sent in 503 individual complaints. As is my common practice, as they were kind of rolling in to my inbox, I picked up the phone, tried to reach out. Again, there was no answer. The following day, she called me. And so we were able to have a really good conversation. Kind of shared with her now traffic patterns and why she sees aircraft over her house all the time. And so that was some small steps. Airports are a game of inches, and so that was one little inch that we were able to make is at least start building a bridge with that very upset residents. So I think that was some really good progress made on that noise front as well.
Did she engage with you at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she was very kind. It was a very respectful conversation. I don't think I gave her the answer she was looking for or wanting to hear, but she remained very respectful and understanding through the whole conversation. So I came away feeling it was a really positive experience.
Was the 500 perhaps an accident or something?
Also, to piggyback on Gabe's first statement about we're now posting our noise complaint information on our website and making it public knowledge and available to the public. Representative Hannah Bowen and is it Sally Kearns? Since Hannah Bowen is now the Beverly rep at the State House, she has worked with Sally and co-signed a bill that they're trying to push through, which we've discussed at length, and we're also setting up a meeting to talk about the bill. But basically, it was asking all airports in Massachusetts, and then they kind of got more specific to asking us alone to have the tower track every touch and go, report all these findings. And so we're trying to work out logistics of what people can actually do, and that's not a task we can ask the tower to do. But the bottom line was that they wanted our information that we've been gathering to be posted publicly, also funneled through, I think, Mass DOT and on their site. But we've at least taken the initial step to start posting it on our site and be public with it so that everyone can go and see what the data we're gathering every month. And then I wanted to have it backlogged so you could go back like the minutes and see every month since we started tracking this data of January 23, right? Or 24, January 24 we started all this. So at least people can see and feel like we're not listening to them.
What are they hoping to see?
I don't know. They want to see what's going on. I mean, your dad and Tony and the other residents of Danvers have been requesting this, so you can ask them exactly what they want to get out of seeing this report every month publicly posted, but that's what they're asking for. So as opposed to waiting for it to go through legislation and becoming a legal thing, we're at least starting it and coming halfway to the table and not thinking that we're always right or somebody else is always right. It's we're trying to be halfway. So, Bill?
All I wanted to mention in terms of that last comment was, I would say beyond a few people at this table, I'm not even sure if everybody at this table fully understands, but technical insight required an understanding of aviation is very, very complicated. And most people who approach me or whatever, they have a concern, but they don't realize the reality of the technical spectrum we operate in. So in some respects that works to our benefit, in other respects it works against our benefit. That, such as we have political intervention here coming from Sally Kearns, who I've worked with on a number of occasions. And she means well, but she doesn't fully understand what most of us understand in terms of what the limitations are or non-limitations are for aviation. So that's where I see a lot of problems coming in.
And they've been very receptive because I was contacted by Hannah Bowen and we went over the bill. And when I explained how some things in aviation work, then they came back with a revised version of that bill.
And Hannah Bowen is who?
Hannah Bowen is the state rep for Beverly and Precinct 1, I think, in Wyndham.
Okay.
Yeah, newly elected. She was a counselor at large in Beverly.
All right, so moving through the last 3 items on my report. The RFP for the non-aeronautical land along Airport Road is out. I right now have deadline for proposals to come in October 10th. So that gives anyone interested about 2 months to, get their proposal together. And then we'll go from there. We'll open up proposals and decide how we want to proceed with that land, but that RFP is out there, so.
Let Commissioner Kendrick know.
Yeah.
What he said.
Last meeting, the lease, you all approved the lease with the Massachusetts Air and Space Museum. I had a meeting with Joe Denny. After that, went over the lease. There were a few very minor changes that the museum requested, mostly in semantics and some language protecting their, like their displays and their artifacts that they have, which I was all good with, but the meat and potatoes of the lease that was presented to you last meeting remains. And so next step for that will be going to City Council for approval. Beverly City Council is still on their summer recess, so at their first meeting after that, which will be in September, that lease will go forth and for final approval and it'll be passed around for execution. And then Chairman Retallick and I, it's almost been a month now, we sat down and had a really good meeting with the new town manager of Danvers, Jill Cahill. We met for 2 hours with her. She came here. We went over master plan, the ALP, noise procedures, gave her a 30,000-foot view of what goes on here at the airport. And then we were able to take her up to the tower, and she spent some time up in the tower watching those operations and how all of that works. I think she's a great addition to the area. I think she'll do great. I'm really excited to work alongside her for trying to, again, keep those lines of communication good and strong between us and the town of Danvers. I don't know if you had anything to add about.
She's seems fantastic, and she really came to the table with a bunch of different questions that seemed to be what she was getting from Danvers residents and what she'd heard in her short time in her position. So we at least got to give her our side of the story and how we operate and what we're able and not able to do. And she seems very level-headed and able to see both sides and make her own decision on all the information she's getting. So I'm really excited to work with her in the future. I hope she's around for a long time. I think Danvers is going to really benefit from her. And yeah, it was a great meeting.
And then kind of a follow-up to that meeting, I will be, and Chairman Retallick will likely join as well, we'll be going before the Danvers Select Board at one of their September meetings. We did that last year, so just to give the Select Board an update on airport happenings and what's going on out here. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions. The MAMA conference is coming up in October. They are going to be doing the commissioner workshop again. They didn't do that last year. It'll be coming back this year. That'll be the Sunday the 23rd of October.
No, because the 26th is the.
Oh, that's the weekend before that.
The 19th, so the 19th.
Yes, I believe so. My apologies. So if, I highly recommend, 2 years ago, they put that workshop on, and it was wonderful. I learned a ton of new stuff. I think the commissioners that attended learned a lot. So if you're brand new or if you're seasoned, anyone can get.
Do you know the location?
It is on the Cape. It is at Margaritaville Resort in Hyannis.
19th to the 21st.
Thank you, Craig. So yeah, look at that. I think it's a $50 registration for that commissioner workshop meeting. Highly recommend you be there.
You said we could forward that to you.
You can forward that to me, yes, that registration fee. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me.
Question for Gabe.
Yes.
When the fencing, is it complete?
The fence, yes, the last fence project it is.
On the airport facility director, it's listed as occasional deer and coyote. I wonder if, now might be an opportunity to be proactive and try to get this off the.
They said on the 8th day, there was coyote activity on the airport, so.
Right, so, I mean, that one portion of the fence is complete enough, but it's not the entire perimeter fence that was completed, so we still have some problem areas along the perimeter.
There's a family of 3 that just walked right across 1634.
I think, and Mary can correct me if I'm misspeaking, I think that the wildlife issue has gotten better, at least over the course of the 2 years I've been here, but I think it's still present.
Follow-up question. I'm in a jet, early morning departure, and there's seagulls on the runway. What is the procedure for the, what is the airport procedure? Do they notify you? Can you go out to the runway? Or, Mary, is that something you?
Every year goes out there. I mean, not every year, but the other ones out there, they go out there.
Yeah, so if it's when we're here, when our maintenance team is here, they have, they call poppers that they can go out and scare them off.
There is a procedure.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. On times that we're not here, I know the flight level is really helpful with that as well in chasing wildlife off.
Just a quick follow-up, you mentioned things have gotten better critter-wise. Things have gotten tremendously better critter-wise. Years ago, when Ace was I'm not sure what to call him, he was our posse, so to speak. He practically had a budget for ammunition in terms of what he was popping, so. Ace, is that true?
What's up?
Back in the days when you were game warden up here, whatever you want to call yourself?
Every year I averaged about 30 deer and much more coyotes, because I was here every day. And when the tower called me, I went exactly to the place, and sometimes I would shoot 3 deer within a minute. It's just, if you get called and they're out there, then you can do it, but it's with the coordination of the tower, and it worked out very well.
Okay, just thought I'd cut that in there.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all I have.
So just want to, real quick, Tarek wanted to make a public comment. He didn't get to. Tarek, you want to take off your mute? And I think you're still there.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I didn't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I joined a few minutes late, so I missed the public comment. Not that I would have made public comment without having heard the rest of the meeting. I wanted to touch on a couple of things. One is I used to be a long-time resident of Beverly, so I lived in Beverly about 30 years. I still work in Beverly. We're at the end of runway 3-4 up at Excellus. So if we need parking at Excellus, either at 105 San Fonzio or up at the top for the workday, please let me know and I will work on figuring out how to get that done. That shouldn't be a problem on a Sunday. We are relatively empty on Sunday. I am the president of North Shore Art Club. I have been a member of North Shore Art since the mid-2000s. I also started a flying club where I live now, which is down in Florida, but I commute up there 25 times to 30 times a year, so I'm kind of half and half. And it's not, what you guys are describing is not different from what anybody else does anywhere else, right? Same, anywhere, everywhere. One question I had, it came to me over the years. I've had interactions with residents of Beverly, and I've had a few people mention that they were really happy that they had Beverly Airport nearby. They loved it. Their kids love the sound of airplanes. That's how they get involved. That's how they get invested. That's how they come to the airport, et cetera, et cetera. And it happened to me again about 6 months ago when I was at the airport and somebody was outside the fence and I talked to them and they had their child and they were talking to me. It came up that they loved the sound of airplanes. They loved having the flying, airplanes going by every day or every whatever. And I was just envisioning, when you guys were discussing the noise complaints, there is no non-noise complaints, like, oh my God, I love hearing the sound of airplanes, right? So just, you get what you measure. If you only measure sound complaints, if you only measure complaints, you will only measure complaints. I throw it out there as a possibility that there is some proportion of our population that is local, some population of our population that is local, and voting members of the population that feel the opposite of whatever our 1, 2, 3 noise complaining counterparts are. I don't have a solution. I'm just putting it out there that there should be a method or a mechanism by which local community members can voice their positive appreciation of the airport, as opposed to the only condition is that if you have a complaint, please file it here. It didn't dawn on me until I had that conversation. I believe it was a lady with a young child, like 5, 6 years old, and she was the one that was telling me that, and I was like, wow. And where can we get this information in front of the commission or in front of people that see it from just the one perspective of noise complaints? So that was one topic I wanted to cover. The second is, I think it was Bill, I can't see him, but it was off on the left, it sounded like Bill mentioned something about North Shore Art Club. I just want to mention that I've given to Gabe the items that we've presented at our annual meeting in our newsletter. We definitely tell our members, one is please be good neighbors. B, please be aware of those noise abatement policies. But C, most importantly, that doesn't say that you can't maintain your currency, you can't go out and fly at night, you can't be taking off or landing. We did also offer the data that was, I guess, somewhat unscientifically presented by Avier, but was pretty eye-opening last year regarding takeoffs and landings of data and dB level of data. We do recommend to our members that do not do stop and goes at night, because that makes a lot of difference, as I recall from the data that Avier presented and Paul presented last year. So we do recommend to them that, for the small increment of dollars, which is almost minuscule for a flying club as opposed to an FBO operation, if you're going to do something at night, don't do a stop and go and don't take off from the middle of the runway, because that does cause more noise. The last thing I want to say is that in Boston, since I'm in there 25 to 30 times a year, the takeoffs that go over the city are directed via SID, Standard Instrument Departure. over the water, out to the coast and back on, when they get up above 10, 15,000 feet. That's not something necessarily we could do in Beverly, but the potential is that we should look at, based on the data and based on what Gabe's mentioned regarding runway 9 and other information, we might want to provide a recommended departure procedure for noise abatement. Right now, the noise abatement procedure is, obviously, don't operate at night or don't operate during, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or whatever the exact number, 10 p.m. 7 a.m. Or operate in the quietest condition, right? For big jets, there's a difference, right? There's a difference when you operate at max power versus, noise abatement power. For our small planes, which are rare to be interacting at midnight or off hours with the local population, there's really you don't have that possibility, right? We don't have full power and noise abatement power, we just have full takeoff power. So it's one thing that you might want to consider is whether there's a preferred route that we want all of our departures to take. And then lastly, for small planes, I came across this recently because between the two flying clubs, we have 8 airplanes that go internationally. And I attended a seminar that said, hey, guys, don't forget that you need a noise certificate for each of your airplanes that go internationally, even though those are not necessarily always provided by the vendor, by the OEM. And so as I started to look at it, I looked at the AFD today for Beverly, and the Beverly AFD says, for those noise abatement, for those 75 dB and above. Well, an Archer or a Cherokee 180, which is many of the local airplanes that we either fly both in the Flying Club and at Beverly Flight Center or Aviair, are sub 75 dB, right? They're 72 dB, 74 dB, but they're sub 75 dB. So the current AFD noise abatement discussion doesn't really apply to that. That doesn't mean that people don't complain about it, because noise is a relative to your eardrum, not necessarily what a dB meter says. But keep that in mind that the currently there's, from an AFD standpoint, there's a set what it says. There's a potential for an opportunity for us to decide, where do we want our flights to depart and go to minimize noise, and just recurrently, reminding people that there is a policy, which we try to do at the Flying Club, obviously, for our own benefit, because we want our members to be aware of it, and we want our members to be, good neighbors. There's a lot to be done, and lots that can be done, but I also encourage you guys to think about, how many of our local community don't mind hearing those airplanes. Now, they may not want it at midnight, but don't mind hearing them in the rest of the day. So I think with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Tara. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. That was a lot. Thank you. It's fantastic, and thank you for coming and representing the Aero Club and telling us what policies you are implementing with your flyers. That goes a long way, and very much appreciative of the rest of the commission here. And I like the idea. I don't know what we have to do to figure out a good route to send jets, or if there's something that we can do about that, or we can definitely look into something Gabe and Barry can talk about and look into. Obviously, safety first and all that, but no, I appreciate it very much. And please come to more meetings and speak your mind again, and keep us updated with your thoughts. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I couldn't see if Mary was on the left side of my screen, so I couldn't tell if that was Mary Parsons, our tower manager and North Shore Air Club member, or that was a different Mary. I couldn't tell.
No, Mary Parsons is here. She heard everything you had to say.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, we're going to move on to new business. So there's been some discussion on the fields about lack of general aviation maintenance. Mr. Bear is here, which is fantastic. So there's been rumors flying, everyone's heard something, so I'm grateful that you're here. If you'd like to come up to the table and speak your mind and tell us what's going on with general aviation maintenance on the field, what your plans are for working on GA planes in the future and all that.
Is it here? So, this is Thomas Bear, Air Aviation. In some respects, there are certain people that do know what actually happened. There was some misinformation that was out. I was actually out of town when it all happened. So, Air Aviation obviously is in business to be profitable. There is a fact of that. Right now, I don't want to go on public comment until some of the things I've been advised not to. So I'd like to keep it short and sweet right now. I do not have a problem with, as I have with Gabriel, to speak with you off the record or in privacy to be able to actually show. It's a business decision, personal decision. At this point, there's a lot of growth that I am in, and I look at this as a reset, not by my choice, but it ended up being a reset. So we do have a lot of growth that we do plan on doing, and that I can actually share with you in another forum. I like to actually say that. So come to the source if you'd like to know.
Appreciate
that's
that.
where I'd like that to happen. So to squelch any kind of rumors or anything that's out there is I want to ask. So,
Sounds good.
That makes sense?
That makes sense.
Great.
Thank you.
That's it? That's it? That's it?
All right, guys, this is not open discussion.
You're not gonna follow up or do
Ace,
anything?
this is not an open discussion. We're not here. If you want to talk to Tom,
That's the problem with the commission then.
Tom, I mean, Ace, if you want to talk to Tom, you can set up a meeting with
Well,
Tom
you guys need to grow some balls.
on your own. All right, we'll move on to new business brought by the airport manager.
Yeah, so now that we have the RFP out for the big parcel of land along Alton Henderson and Airport Road, I want to maybe resurrect the discussion about the area that's currently occupied by Wayside Trailer, which is this side of Airport Road, so that portion just behind Building 45. So I guess, again, engaging where the commission is, I know we've had a lot of discussions about this in the past, one of them being there is a world that exists where that could be aeronautical use space. Maybe a far stretch, but it is possible. Or it wouldn't be anything now that I've kind of got everything going on the other RFP to make some changes to that and also send that small parcel out for RFP as well. Wayside currently pays less than fair market value for that, about half of fair market value for that land. To get anyone to pay fair market value for that, having a lease for anything more than a year, we would have to go to RFP. So I guess just looking to see what the commission wants to do. I guess the options are we continue this roll in progress and put out a non-aeronautical use RFP release. We keep it as is with Wayside and just keep collecting that income from them, even though it's less than that fair market value. Or do we hold on to it and kind of gear it towards and start going through the motions to get into aeronautical use space? I'm kind to the, I think push comes to shove, I'd say just put an RFP out and see what's out there. for a space of that size and location. It doesn't hurt. We can put the RFP out and get proposals back, and by the time we get proposals back, maybe some minds have changed, and we say, we're just gonna put this in a box and put it to the side and not take any action. But I think that's where I am, at least, putting it out for RFP.
Unfortunately, Commissioner Kendrick is not here. He's usually our RFP guy. Likes to either say yay or nay with that. So I personally, I think an RFP would be very beneficial to us and at least get fair market value for that land.
As a commissioner, I think that's your job, is to try to maximize that aspect, right? And so, yeah, it seems like it would make sense. It doesn't, if they want to pay more and change the lease to keep it, they're welcome, right? We can renegotiate, if there's an RFP and they say, hey, actually.
Yeah, so they could respond to the RFP and say, we would like to stay here and continue using it, and we'll pay you X amount of dollars, and that's, as long as it's fair market value, then that could certainly be considered.
Clark, like to say.
So if you put it out to this bid, you're keeping it non-aeronautical.
Correct.
Okay? If you convert it to aeronautical, then it becomes aeronautical and you only deal with gig, correct?
Yes, so if the commission says we really want to try to utilize this as aeronautical use space, then in that instance, we go through the process which Craig would have to help me on, getting that back to, converting back to aeronautical use space. And then when it's aeronautical use, there's an exemption from Chapter 30B, which would say we wouldn't have to go out to RFP and we don't have to get fair market value. It can just be a straight up negotiation. We could go to tenant A and say, hey, we know you're interested. Would you do this for X amount of dollars and negotiate straight with them?
So basically you're saying at this point of the time the airport is at, if you send that out to our VP, the intentions, you're going to give 5, 10, 15-year lease, so the intentions are to never move the airport or expand down there because it's going to become just commercial lease out property. So you're never going to expand any aeronautical down that side.
Correct. If we went that route, introduction.
I agree with you, Clark. I think we've had this discussion in the previous meeting. We're talking about it. Maybe what this is a last opportunity, since we're so constrained for space on this side of the airport. We're talking about being able to build hangars for maintenance or for anything for aircraft parking, that this might be, where this building was built in the wrong spot. It's incumbent on us to really consider maybe that this becomes aeronautical, convert this to aeronautical, that piece of land, so we hold that and can decide, we have to decide how much time we give ourselves, what the vision is, if we can get people to come in and give us ideas, and Clark already has talked about something, but I think maybe this is the chance to look at this and capture it back to aeronautical.
Yeah.
And it's not the best piece of land, but it gives us something to work with, where right now we have really nothing else to work with on the side, so I think that's a great point, thank you.
I've said this before, I think it needs to be looked at as best usage. And I don't have that expertise, but somebody does. What's the best use? Because once you put it out for bid, you lose, there's a lease, you lose control of what the future is. But somebody has to come in and say, well, this land would be better used for this.
But not when you put it out to bid. When you put it out to bid, you can just get ideas of what you can use.
Right, we could get the proposals, and if none of them, if we don't agree with any of them, we don't think that fits the best use of that land, then we can say thanks, but no thanks. And
Is that commercial property zoned commercial? Can anything go on that?
It's currently zoned industrial restricted.
Restricted meaning fuels, gas stations?
Yeah,
something
you'd have
like that?
to look at the specifics in Beverly's ordinances and code book.
So that probably means the sellable oil or fuel, so it would be good for storage facility. See, you know, it's a throw of the dice what you want to do if you want to, because behind 45, there's only a little culvert there that a pipe can be put in and filled. You're not getting me, I can't. So, and if you put a pipe across that culvert, that becomes an open area for what I had said for dead hangars. Or a hangar that can be, you can taxi across and back 45, a double gate, and you're in the back of the area here. It's just something to think about in the future.
Yeah, I think that was our biggest issue, it was the connecting of that land to a taxiable area for planes.
Or even if there was helicopters out back there.
So,
Chris Roulette has been waiting that what?
I think
Sorry.
we could have touched on the fact that I'm keen to see if we can keep that aeronautical use, just because we don't have as much, space to work with, as you were saying, but, yeah, go ahead.
well, I'm just thinking, the infrastructure, pipes, what you can put back there, if, since maybe Craig could tell us at some point, not tonight, but what the discussions were in putting this building there, like what was the planning, what was the thinking? If we could either use ASU or somebody to create a vision, we would work up what can go across that culvert, what utilities you could put in there, what if we were going to go aeronautical. We have to have a vision. I think as a commission, we can't actually decide on what's possible unless we hire somebody to work it up, or we put it on Gabe who's busy, or, I mean, it becomes just a...
Well, they did give us a mock-up.
Okay.
They've given us multiple mock-ups.
So then maybe the commission needs a presentation on what there is, and we...
Well, again, it comes back to funding. And this was like, we've talked about this extensively of like creating a proper, like basically...
But the commission, like you guys know this? I
Well,
don't
no,
think
we've talked about this as a commission. I think we've actually shown the mock-up in meetings too. We
I
have.
mean, it's just as far as, yes, have we looked at all, particularly, have we gotten the specs on everything? What, like, are you saying fuel, running fuel across back there?
No,
It's
in
like
other
a
words,
gas station with a
if
gas
there's a restriction, but another way you gotta put it is, say fair market value is 3,000, so you figure that's $36,000 a year. Opposed to if you put a hangar up and have dead space, what's gonna yield the most money for the future plan here? That's in other words, you wanna just go for money, or you wanna go for, think of expansion later?
Yeah, I think that's great, just to see a mock-up in one meeting. I don't know if I feel like I learned much at all, other than I saw a picture. Like, I would love to help, we'd all like to figure out what is, whether it's non-aeronautical or aeronautical. It seems like it's a fairly big decision, because it's gonna be in perpetuity for some time, so how do we as a commission?
We can bring it up, we can do it again, but we did go over it pretty extensively, and Bob and I don't know who else came up with the layout, and creating the taxiway that would connect from up here and go down. We'd have to remove the hangar, like Tom Sherwood and Javier's hangar, and there would be a taxiway that would go back, and we were talking about like rerouting the road, teeing it up with San Fonso, and basically kicking out the city or moving them, and then utilizing that whole back space, what we're actually putting up for RFP right now, is all aeronautical, and fencing the whole thing off. But again, the funding, it's a multi-million dollar project to connect this, and then the juggling of businesses, and keeping people in working order while building a fresh hangar and tearing down old, and the whole, it was pretty.
Yeah, no, I do remember that. I'm just thinking, even if we have to decide, do we keep it as non-air, like, all that cost being what it may, we still have to decide, I guess? I mean, you guys get what I mean?
Yeah, we should review that. I feel like I've forgotten it, and I think it'd be, and we're all in a different place now, we're looking at the world differently, and we've learned a lot, and I think it'd be great to revisit all the great work you did and putting it together. just so we can make some determination, because this isn't, as you said, perpetuity, what we decide to take that out of service. That
I mean,
affects.
maybe if Gabe, maybe we, because the RFPs come up and it's not binding, we can see what ideas are out there, and then we can go from that to a mock-up if we feel like it actually lets us look at it, and we don't have $3 or $4 million, we don't know who's gonna develop it, and maybe it doesn't make sense.
We never know though. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
someone could come and say, no, really, for aeronautical use, maybe.
So I just like to think the commission probably should get, again, a refresher on everything and consider maybe go the RFP route to see what comes in, and then also compare that to another presentation where we talk about citizens.
I think you guys are all aware that at one time, all that property back there was just aeronautical use. And the airport changed it because they were going to sell off the property, which they did, and then they put a kibosh because they kept selling off the property. So that's what. So it makes sense if you put it back there, not lose the works for it.
I would personally like to see aeronautical use. I know Gabe would like to as well. I think it's just the logistics.
I would, but I'm also, yes. In the ideal world, I'd have aeronautical use space back there. Logistically, realistically, I look at it, and I guess I just have come to the conclusion of we could get it out there for, at least for non-aeronautical use, and get just more monthly revenue income in for us, to then help us out on the big projects on the airfield, that ultimately open up more space for aeronautical development on the airfield in the end.
Would it make sense if it was aeronautical to consider a pathway back there in Park Plains? Is it enough of a ramp to people to pay for parking?
The problem is how we get back there.
Okay.
Once that area gets paved, were to get paved, you can put several hangars up, you could fit a lot of aviation, aeronautical infrastructure and assets back there. The issue is how you get back there. Because as Chairman Rotalick mentioned, you have hangar 47 in the way, you have hangar or building 45 also in the way. And these trees across the way from the hangars, there's wetlands. So there's a very, very narrow and weird curvy path that a taxi lane would have to take. And it would disturb some pre-existing buildings and tenants.
That's the only way.
Yes. Unless we close LP which is a non-starter, so.
I mean, we did talk about, my thoughts, like, can we put this in the lease, like if Clark were, or other people were to build hangars back there to, it would bring planes around under tug power only, so that you'd have to have your taxi would be, your plane would not be powered. But then again, that's the logistics of like creating a wide enough gate here to bring it around, making sure that the parking lot is got enough room to bring a plane around if you're coming this way.
Would it make sense, maybe the next meeting or the one thereafter, we actually meet here at the start of the meeting, or meet here 20 minutes early and do a site walkthrough so the whole commission can see it and just, we can. We can all see what you're talking about and kind of wrap our brains around it.
We could, I don't know how we could logistically do that. I mean, we could have it technically an open meeting. Starting, and the top of the agenda is, we all meet here, do the roll call and all that, and then do a site walk.
Aren't there site walks we can do as long as we don't talk about anything? And then we come back and do the meeting, like we could.
I think so. I can check with the solicitor and legal office, but I know it's not uncommon to have an open meeting, open up and a satellite location to do a sidewalk or tour of the facility. So,
because the majority of it would be on this side of the fence. We could go around.
Maybe we should try to make that right. We've talked about this in the reference of the meetings, but we really should try to push it forward because it's all kind of coming together. So
Yep. Cool.
Bill had
wild idea, this popped in while you were talking. Any of you familiar how they deal with their operations at Gibraltar? Well, Rocket Gibraltar, it's like traffic. You have air traffic, they stop the air traffic, and you have a highway that literally goes right across the runway. Keith Office. What I'm leading to is, why couldn't you do something, or consider doing something like that with the main road coming in? In other words, you could turn the area down into dead storage or whatever. At a certain point, if somebody wanted to taxi the aircraft out, fine, contact tower or gate or whatever, blocks the access to the main runway, main road up here, and you could just taxi it up, and the worst thing you gotta do is just widen the gate with the windspan to get it through.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely multiple options. Again, like I said, like the parking would have to be moved to accommodate a plane coming through. The air would have to be okay with either moving or losing one of their parking spaces because it's pretty close to this gate. So they're just, again, it's all logistics. Anything can be done. Everything is possible. But, you know.
All right, so final thing, I might turn this, do you want to take this?
Sure.
All right.
I was approached by Pup Club, which is a local dog caretaking service. And he's looking for a plot of land to basically like let the dogs roam for a few hours a day. And he's looking for at least like an acre. And then I have not got to read this proposed lease. I don't know if Gabe's got to go over this at all, but I thought he was going to come tonight and present to us, but he's not here. But yeah, he's looking for something potentially in the interim on the same land we're RFPing right now. He'd be interested in the land, he said. But again, when the RFPs come in, if someone's outbidding and we want to go that route, but he was saying he'd be willing to just set up shop for so many months until we sign a lease with somebody, and just to offset our like get some more revenue coming in on that land. So he said it'd be just for like a couple hours a day. He'd fence off, not a permanent fence, but a fence, and then be able to drive a van in, let the dogs out, they go around for a little bit, dogs go back in, drop them back off at the people's houses, and you just do that daily. It would just be like one or two people. It wouldn't be. Is that about it?
And the dogs would be okay with the jets?
That's what we asked him. Like we suggested a couple of other sites, but they were really close to the runway. But he seemed to think that this would be far enough away to not disturb the dogs.
No, so not would it be fenced or just?
It would be a temporary fencing. He said he could pack up, you know, do a month to month, and then if we decided to develop it with somebody, then he's okay to go. But if he could get the land for the next, his business is just ramping up, and he's been doing this, I don't know, for a few years now. He has, I think, like 30 or 40 clients, and it just keeps getting bigger. So he's looking for a starter, like an acre, and to expand if he can. But
I'm not an expense guy, is it? It's crazy.
So, Gabe?
I know I voiced some of my hesitation with this. Especially with how this proposal is written up, I guess my hesitancy is it is already out for RFP. And this proposal is like stage 1, 16,500 square feet. It goes through like 5 stages, and the stage 5 is 4 acres, which is what we're RFPing. So I guess my concern would be taking action on this might appear as the commission making a decision related to the RFP that is still out and not closed, if that makes sense. So I think that would probably be my recommendation, is that we table this and then communicate back to him and say, this is great, but put in a formal proposal to the RFP to be considered by the full commission. That's just kind of how I fall on this. But
That sounds legitimate. Yeah, just if we are, we can propose, and we can submit it.
Your cutoff date's October?
October 10th.
If there's no proposal submitted,
If there's no,
have there been any submissions for the RFP?
Yeah. I'm having the city's purchasing agent going to be who all the proposals go to, so I don't think he's received any, but.
See, that's motion on the table. Too late.
Mary's got
Like,
control.
how do you want to listen to us?
So that's my 2 cents. Feel free to take it or leave it as you see fit.
Is everybody in agreement with Gabe's suggestion of table, contact him and tell him to go for the RFP, put in his own bid?
We need a motion.
No, maybe.
I don't necessarily think.
No, I think
Maybe a motion to table. Yeah.
motion from Commissioner Zubrick, second from Commissioner Cosmo, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Do I hear anything else commissioners want to bring up? Yes,
Just one thing,
Commissioner
Alex.
Zubrick. Yep.
So we're ramping up the school visits again. So I had a meeting with the FAA on Tuesday. They're not able to give us any printed materials yet, but he's the new guy who was a teacher for 20 years before he went to the FAA. Is very keen on joining us on a lot of our visits. So that's MassDOT, FAA, us. And I ran into a woman who is one of the med flight helicopter mechanics on Friday event, and she seems to be interested too. We're talking about the schools, and we're talking about the chambers of commerce in the cities around us as well, just to kind of be like, hey, we're here. I don't know, maybe we can have something together, just like, so you know where we are and what we're doing. So, yeah, that's all
You
I
want to come to
have.
Harrison side, the elementary school, they'd love to have you. So,
Well, Peabody reached out to Gabe directly,
Yes.
so.
It is. Yeah.
elementary or what?
Just
Peabody
School
School
District.
District.
But I had a
Oh,
meeting
they
with,
want
I had a
every
meeting with the
school
superintendent of Peabody, so.
I met our new superintendent for Beverly, and he would like to do some sort of, I don't know exactly what it is, but something to do with vehicles here, vehicle safety, teaching young kids proper procedures. We'd like to use the airport potentially for some sort of educational thing for young drivers.
Like the-
Okay.
So like Mazda used to take over Hanscom and do this thing called the Zoom event, where you would go, get a ticket, and you could drive all their brand new cars on these closed courses. And it was obviously on a tarmac, so like it was just open, it was just cones. So you could test drive their cars and do whatever you wanted. And it was, so it's kind of not to that extent, but like similar, where it would utilize a closed course on the runway or somewhere